What's up, guys? I'm Landon, and I'm excited for this. I am going to be sharing my testimony and how I came to know Christ because it just truly is powerful and it just shows that Christ calls anyone and all of us. So, I grew up in a Christian household. Went to church, went to Sunday school, was involved, but I just didn't really know Christ the way that I thought I did. I just tried to make my own decisions, what I thought was best for me. I pursued my own selfish desires before Christ, and it just truly, truly showed that I didn't know God the way that I thought I did. Um, and I always portrayed that I had everything planned out and that I knew exactly what I was going to do, but at the end of the day, my ways were not God's ways, and it showed itself to me. Um, I carried that same mindset through high school up until college. I went to college to play baseball. I went to a junior college my first 2 years, and that first year, my freshman year, I was undersized. I needed to develop. I was battling injuries, and it just really put me in a down place of depression and not thinking I was good enough. And I kind of suppressed those feelings, but they were always there. And that carried through the entire year, allowed me not to play in the spring because I was dealing with those things. And after that freshman year into the summer, dealt with some family issues, things happening. I won't go into detail on those, but those took a major toll on me mentally as well and just put me in a down place. Carried through the whole summer, went back to the same junior college my sophomore year, had gotten some size, had developed, was ready to play. And my third weekend there, our first time playing back in the fall, my first time pitching, I hurt my shoulder and had to shut down for the fall. Spent some time getting some MRIs and x-rays done. But while I was doing that, my granny had fell here at home. She had an injury. So I came back to see her, to check on her. And as I was sitting with her, I got a phone call that my grandpa on my dad's side had passed away. So that just snowballed with everything else, sent me kind of in a spiral. Um, just didn't really know myself, put me in a bad place mentally. Battled those things through the winter, got my MRIs back. I had a shoulder labrum tear. So I got some injections and rehab through the winter, so hopefully I was able to play in the spring. And it went well over the winter. Came back in the spring, was able to throw, was doing well. And sure enough, our first or second weekend back playing, my first time pitching, it tore again. First time back. So that took me out of baseball that year. Had to get surgery. And for junior colleges, you play there 2 years and you transfer. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to do because both of those years I was battling injuries and other things, and I had nothing planned at that point. I had no idea what was going to happen. And that was one of the first times I had turned back to Jesus because throughout those years I had separated myself. I tried to do things my own way, never turned to Jesus for anything. So I turned back, and before my surgery I said a little prayer, Jesus, if you have anything planned for me, if you want me to go a certain way, you lead me there and you show me. And sure enough, I can't make this up. While I was under my surgery, while they were operating on me, I got a message back from a coach about taking a visit. They were interested in me still, even after surgery. And after my surgery, I saw it, we communicated, I went to the campus. And a couple weeks later, I committed to play Division I baseball the next year. And that was super exciting. I just knew that God was moving in that. So then the entire summer while I was in my sling and rehabbing, I would lay my Bible on my sling right here, and I was left-handed, so writing was a little hard, but I would just watch sermons all day, and I would just take notes and read and be involved with Jesus during that time. And I grew closer and closer to God that summer. And it just truly showed that fall when I got to NSU, Norfolk State University, where I was playing at. I was able to insert and allow Jesus to move in my daily life compared to my prior years in high school and at my junior college. The way that I would act and what came out of my mouth wasn't godly at all. But once I grew closer to Jesus that summer and went to Norfolk State, during that fall, I was able to reflect my relationship with Jesus. And I just knew that He was moving through me. And it was still early in my connection with Christ. I wasn't fully connecting Christ to all parts of my life, but it was improving in my relationship. And over our fall break there at NSU that fall, I came back home and went to see my granny again. And we were sitting down talking, and I love my granny to death, but we had never spoken about like faith or Jesus or either of our relationships with Christ. And as we're sitting there, these two ladies that she knows comes to the house, and we're all talking, and typical granny talking about her grandson, and they ask my granny what I was going to do one day after college, and she looks at me and she says, he's going to be a pastor one day. And it kind of confused me because I didn't know what I was going to do at that point, and we had never talked about it. So I was just like, maybe. I didn't exactly know at the time. And I leave kind of confused after that, after I tell her bye and everything. And then I go back to NSU a week later to finish our fall season. And I'm calling my mom at the time that night after practice one day because I just didn't know if Norfolk State was the place for me to finish my baseball career and get my degree. And I'm telling her all this stuff, and her first response back to me is, what if you transferred and pursued ministry to be a pastor? And then I make the connection with my granny, but I'm still kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, I don't know. I never really thought about it. And so then we just keep talking, hang up, and immediately after I call my dad, and this is boom, hang up, boom, call. There's no way that they had time to communicate. And I'm telling him the same story. I don't know if NSU is the place for me. What if I transferred and tried to go somewhere else to finish my career? And he says, well, what if you transferred and pursued ministry to be a pastor? And at that point, because all of this is in about a week's time frame from seeing my granny to calling both of them, and I am just blown away. I don't say anything for probably a whole 30 seconds. I'm just shocked. I'm like, there's no way. So I tell him what had just happened, and he's like, son, maybe I think God's moving in your life. And I had just never heard God speak so clearly than He did there. And so I'm praying about it. I'm thinking about it. I come home over winter break. I'm speaking to people, talking to pastors about it. And I just can feel Christ tugging on my heart. This is what I need to do. So I go back to NSU in the spring. I plug into Fellowship of Christian Athletes as one of the leaders. And I'm speaking there. I gave a couple messages. And Ross was one of the administrators who helped the leaders with FCA. And he's just telling me wow, Lanny, you have a gift. Maybe this is your calling. And I am just so blown away the way that God was moving and just the way that He was leading me. And then it made it super easy to just share my faith and shine His light through me, what He was doing through me, especially the guys around me on that team. It was just beautiful to see, and just the way that God had changed my life drastically in a year and a half, 2 years, the way that He flipped my entire life upside down from being rock bottom, not knowing what I was going to do at all, to just being so connected and being able to witness what he was doing. And He was working in the midst of that depth and darkness the entire time. It's just about leaning on Him and knowing that He's working and trusting Him in those times, because He's going to be working. And now I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking back on it, and there's no way that I could go without sharing this story, because I just know that it's going to resonate with somebody, and somebody watching this knows that God is tugging at their heart for something. But you're scared to commit, you're scared to step out in faith, but I can promise you that God is going to be there, and He's working when you don't know. He is working when you're not expecting it. I can promise you that. And I just pray, and I know that God is working in your life and God is tugging at you. Step out in faith and let God carry you and lean on Him, because He loves us that much. He is calling us to do just that, to rely on Him, to connect with Him, to love Him, to know Him, because that's why Jesus sacrificed Himself for us, to have that relationship with Him and to truly know Him. And I just pray that you can open yourself up to Christ and you can allow yourself to be changed and allow Him to work through you. And I'm going to pray before we end this that you can just open yourself up, and when God's tugging at you, you step out in faith and you allow Him to work. Jesus, I just thank You for today, Lord. And I thank You for whoever's watching this video, and I know that You're tugging on their heart in some way, Lord. And I just pray that You can move through them and that You can show them Your light and that You show them that Your presence is there, Lord. And I just pray that You can bless them and that You can connect with them and that they can truly be a disciple of Your name, Jesus, as we're called to be. In Your heavenly name I pray. Amen. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you loved it. I hope it connected with you truly. And I just pray that you can truly grow with Christ and that you can see what He's doing in your life. Thank you.